you can actually use the Explorer to look at your local setup too, which is really cool. Like this will know that you have a local validator running and it'll just latch on to this localhost 8899. And then I can show you what I was trying to show you. We can take a look at this public key. You can see there's the account we created. And you can see there's our LAN ports balance there. And we can also see the transaction signature of when we created said account. So you can see it comes up as a transaction. And you can see down here, the system program was involved. This is our account that's being created and funded. And this is our local wallet that was being debited because it paid to create the new account. And that's why you can see it's called a fee payer. And then honestly, this has come a long way recently too. You can see the instructions involved as well. And you can see that create account was invoked, which is exactly why we created an account, right? So we sent the right data to the system program to tell it to do this. So definitely utilize the Explorer, guys. There's other ones too, like SolScan. I'll share this link as well. And then there's Solana FM, which is kind of a newer blockchain explorer. These guys are pretty cool. They're actually working on a lot of cool stuff. Which one cool thing I'll show you guys about Solana FM is if you search a transaction signature, let's see if I can switch over to local net. I'm not sure if they support local net yet. They might not. Okay, perhaps they don't. If they do, I'm sorry, Solana FM, I don't know how to do it. But basically, if you look at a transaction, it'll show you some really cool graphics about like what actually happened in your particular transaction. So just going to share the Solana FM link. There you go. All right. But we're going to use Explorer for now. But anyway, so yeah, so you can see it's a super powerful tool. And then when we queried our blockchain data for that account we created, there are those default fields that we covered, right? So exactly as we expected them to look. And you can see, again, like I said, the data is going to be a buffer. Now, we didn't put any data in there, so there's not going to be anything in there. It's just going to be an empty array of bytes. But if you added custom data, that's where it would live. And you would have to deserialize that, which we'll cover a little bit later. But anyway, you can see that like there's the public key of the system program, all ones. That's the owner, and you know, etc. So all that stuff is in there, not executable. And then down here, we're creating key pair B, like we saw. And then here's our transfer. So I'll come back to this in a sec. But the last function that we want to cover in this account script is the transfer of LAN ports. So yeah, so the transfer function then, again, we're using the system program and the functions that come with that object in JavaScript to actually build the instructions to create a transfer instruction. And you can see that it's boiled down to these particular inputs. So who's it coming from, who's it going to, and how many LAN ports. And this is exactly why I said I wanted to give that extra 100,000 LAN ports, because we're going to transfer 90,000 of them out. And then you build the transaction just like we saw before. In this case, we are going to pay for the transaction and we have to sign with the sender, right? Because it's a debit. But the sender is also going to be the one paying for the transaction. So in this case, we only need one signature. Now, if I was to change this to payer, which is our local wallet, then I would have to also add the payer as a signer, right? But I decided to make this particular key pair, since it exists and we created it, it can now pay for transactions because it has SOL. So I decided to use that as this fee payer for this example. But it's important to note that the person who pays for a transaction can be the one can be a separate entity than who's involved in the operation, right? So like I can pay for a transaction where you're going to transfer SOL to someone else as long as you also sign it, right? Like we both authorize it. Or you can pay for the transaction and authorize the debit. So, you know, both are possible. But anyway, that's the transfer function right there. And then I'm just checking the balances before and after. So you can see here, we got the 9908 for both. And then after the transfer, you can see it drops down to 895. And this goes to 1080. So transfer was successful. And then we can also look up our second account as well, just to verify on chain with the local validator node. And you can see same balance, 0 bytes for data, right? All the same fields come up because it's using the same functions that we are right here.